Hello, if you've been here before, welcome back. If not, hi, my name is David. I make videos talking about media that I want to talk about. This is a little unplanned. I decided to do this just now. It is the 31st of October, Halloween. My boyfriend is still working, and I just got home from work myself, so I'm pretty tired, so I knew that I was going to do anything. However, as you can see through the title, I did read a handful of books, or I read two books today that I have not included in my reading wrap up of October, which I posted earlier. I think either tonight or yesterday. I'll be posting. I'm not fully sure exactly when this video will come out. Anyways, this video is going to be after the reading wrap up because I finished two more books in October that were not part of that video that I wanted to record in that time because that was a good time for that. Either way, I was like, you know what? I can talk about these two books that I read just today, still in October for Halloween, and also do a little book haul. It's my first book haul video. These are books that I got for my birthday that happened a few days ago as well. I'm an October birthday. I'm a Scorpio. My boyfriend's also Scorpio, and my two parents are Geminis. If you're into astrology, that'll tell you something. My sister's a Cancer. Anyway, so the two books that I read today were pretty short. It is What Moves the Dead, T. Kingfisher, and Avi, the Seer of Shadows. I did not have these planned to read during Halloween. That's just how it's shaped up in my TBR. So I'm really happy that I got to read these on Halloween. And What Moves the Dead, I've heard a lot about it, and ever since it was published, I've been wanting to read it, and I just now got to it, thankfully. And Seer of Shadows was a book that I had read when I was in elementary school for Sunshine State books. I've read a handful of books. I've talked about a handful of books before. For example, I talked about reading The Girl Who Could Fly a few months ago. I literally just finished this series, this trilogy, um, earlier this month. I talked about it in my wrap-up video. And Someone Named Eva by Joan M. Wolfe. These three books, you can see those. These three books were part of the Sunshine State list of books in, I want to say 2007 and 2008, and I had to read them I didn't have to read them, but if I wanted to participate in the Battle of the Books in my elementary school, I had to read them. And these three really stuck with me ever since then, and so I wanted to revisit them. I have revisited The Girl Who Could Fly, and I just revisited Seer of Shadows, and Someone Named Eva is a book that I will be rereading sometime in the near future. But anyways, about these books. So I read What Moves the Dead first. It was a really slow day at work. I usually read when I'm at work. And so this one, loved it. It was so good. It's almost a 5 out of 5. I'm going to say it's a 4.5 because of how short it is. I wanted more about it. It is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. And it's about this soldier whose pronouns are soldier, whose gender is soldier. I love Easton so much, who visits their friend who was in the army with them and their house, and is reconnecting with him and his sister, his sister who is dying of a sickness. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty popular book. It's mushroom zombies, and it is so creepy. It's so fun. I loved the bunny horror that is happening, and there was one jump scare that was so good, and I absolutely loved it. I really like the ending, not as much as the beginning, but I feel like the ending was a little too clean. Things wrapped up a little too cleanly, but I think that the sequel, which I will want to read as well, might correct something like some of that moment. So I don't know. I'll see how the sequel is. But I really loved the gothic sense of it as well, because there's been some books that I've read before that are like gothic, but I didn't really feel the gothicness. But this felt rich, and rich with detail and rich with atmosphere. The atmosphere in this story was really good. And then because of this, I did read the Fall of the House of Usher original short story by Edgar Allan Poe just a few hours ago, like an hour or two ago. I read it, and I was the first time I ever read it, and it was cool. It was interesting. It was really short, and I really liked the ending. Very ambiguous, but T. Fisher in her it is a author's notes talks about reading that short story and author's note and feeling that she wanted more. And I agree with her after reading the short story for the first time as well. But yeah, this was a really, really good book. I loved it. If the next two books deliver, it's going to be one of the top series so far. And also a really quick series to read as well. I read this in about 5 hours. It was very slow at work. And then Seer of Shadows, it's a great, also gothic story about this young man named Horace, who is an apprentice for a photographer, who the photographer is hired to take pictures of a grieving mother over her dead daughter. And he decides to trick her by putting the image of her dead daughter in the picture, pretending that it's a ghost and hopefully getting money from that. But then it goes off the rails because Horace, who is his assistant, is a seer of shadows. So every time he takes a picture of somebody, you will see he will in the picture the ghost of someone that they knew will appear in the background. And so he has to deal with the dead girl that's in the pictures, trying to stop her with the help of the servant who is black, adopted by the girl's parents. And the girl's parents had died, and so the girl was adopted by her aunt, who is the rich woman that hires the photographer. Real complex kind of story. I feel like the connections were really complex, and the layers of what was happening was also really fun. There was a moment where, you know, the rich people are thinking one thing, the photographer is thinking of another, and then the main character Horace is knowing something else happening at the same. So three different levels of knowledge that are clashing with each other. That was really interesting. And I think this is a great entry for young readers. I don't remember it being this creepy. And it was creepy, but for like someone who's, you know, young reader getting into the genre for the first time, this is a great horror story. I had some real interesting creeping moments, and the ending I really enjoyed more than any other part of the story. I really enjoyed the ending, so I was really happy with that. And so this is definitely a book that I will be handing over to my younger sister so that she will also get a chance to read the types of stories that I read when I was younger, which includes Sierra Shadows. But yeah, these two books I read today, still part of October. So this is an update to my October reading wrap up. And they were really amazing. And also, a little quick wrap up of some books that I recently got. I figured that having a little bit more than just these two books to talk about, I did just all of a sudden get a handful of books in my hand. So it was my birthday earlier this week, and also a package had arrived from some books that I ordered. So that's also in there. First is The Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy of 2017. Series edited by John Joseph Adams. This book was edited by Charles Yu. This is 2017 version. I've talked a lot about these short story anthologies. My coworker gave it to me for my birthday. Thank you so much to her. I was really happy to see this, and I've talked about this series before with her, and so I was really like it was really nice for her to remember that about me and give me the next edition of this series. And so I'm really excited to read it. It's an anthology, different short stories, science fiction, fantasy. I've talked a lot about them. I have a video talking about my best short stories that I've ever read, that some of them were in these types of anthologies. So go check that out if you so desire. Sorry, I had to adjust the frame so it looked a little better. This other book I got from the library, and it is Beyonders, The World Without Heroes, by Brandon Mull. It's the first book of a young children's series that I started reading when I was like 11 years old. And I read the first book. This is the first book, and I don't remember much about it except that I did not like the ending. But the second book I remember reading specifically because I was in Colombia at that time and absolutely loving the second book. And also, there was a moment that really terrified me in that story that I wanted to revisit. And also, I never read the third book, so I wanted to revisit it. And I got this book through the library. It's about this guy who gets isekai'd into a world without heroes, and he encounters this girl who was also isekai'd there. Isekai, if you don't know what that is, it's he lives in our world, in Earth, but he's teleported, portaled over to a fictional world or a different world. That's an isekai. And yeah, I don't really know what to expect about this. I know that I wanted to get through the library. I didn't want to spend money on it just in case I didn't like it. And also, it is a children's story, so I'll probably fly through these books as usual. So, but it did arrive on my birthday, so I got it. I had ordered 3 books from Thrift Books, and they arrived at the same time. So the first one is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Book 5, The Last Olympian. I ordered this immediately as I finished the 4th book of Percy Jackson, and so I'll be finishing this at the end of this month, so I can finish this series, the first series at least, before the end of the year. I might be getting this either late November or early December, one of those two. But it's on like secondary or third priority. Unfortunately, like the library books are first priority. But yes, really excited to get to this one. I did get the new edition copy, like the cover is not the one that I am used to. I don't get to choose that in the reselling, so I might trade it for an actual cover of the original if I find it at some point, but I'm not going to be scrambling for it. But and I'm excited to get this book to read it and finish this series. The other book that I got was Utopia Avenue by David Mitchell. I had bought this book. It was on sale because this book on Thrift Books, the Percy Jackson, was on sale, and I checked. I was like, I kind of want to read this one. Shout out to Rue with the books, who talked about him absolutely loving Utopia Avenue. It was the only David Mitchell book that he's read, and it's one of the only books that I have not read so far of David Mitchell. I've read Cloud Atlas, Bone Clocks, Number 9 Dream, and I wanted to read more of David Mitchell. David Mitchell is an amazing author, so I bought this because Rue had talked about this. So I'm really excited. I don't exactly remember. I think he said it was like something about like a band. I don't really know about it, but I know it's David Mitchell, and David Mitchell will always land perfect for me. So the third book that came in that set was Ararat by Christopher Golden. This is a book, I already read it. I had gotten a copy of it through the library a year ago before I started my booktube channel. And I really liked it, but I wanted to get my hands on a copy of it. So to get free shipping with these 2 books, I bought this one as well. It was on my list that I wanted to buy as well. And yeah, it's about this expedition that goes into Ararat because they think that they discover Ararat is a mountain in Turkey, and they think that they discovered the Ark of, not the Ark of the Covenant, sorry, Noah's Ark, it up in the mountains. And what they discover is, yeah, they found it, and also something really horrible. And it was a really, really fun horror story up in the mountains. If you know about the Magnus Archives, it's very buried forward horror, and I really liked that. So I wanted to have a physical copy of it. The next 2 books I got were on sale at Barnes & Noble. Also on my birthday, we went to Barnes & Noble, and they were having a BOGO sales for some horror books, which I was surprised about, but in retrospect, it is Halloween time, so it makes sense that these books are on sale, I think. But the first one is also same as Ararat, a book that I had already read, which is Slade House by David Mitchell. It is a lot smaller than the library copy that I had read, which is interesting, but because that one was kind of weird. But Slade House, it's about this reoccurring disappearance that happens in a specific location, and I believe it's London. It doesn't say. I don't remember, but it is Slade House is this location that people sometimes go to and sometimes disappear at regular intervals, and so it follows every chapter is someone who disappears in that in that location, and it's psionic vampires, I believe. It's been a hot minute, but it is connected to Bone Clocks. So if you've heard of Bone Clocks, David Mitchell, this is I wouldn't say sequel or prequel, but like a spin-off prequel. Does that make sense? It touches on the same type of speculative elements as Bone Clocks, but Bone Clocks goes much more in depth with it. And so I honestly was fine about the book. I kind of didn't like how cruel it was to the characters, but it made sense with the antagonists, and their comeuppance is really nice. But I at least wanted to have my hands on it because the David Mitchell world is intense, and so I wanted to have that other book on my shelf, even if I had already read it from the library. But because it was on sale, I was able to get another book. This was the half off because it's BOGO, and they put up the half off on the lowest priced book. And the other book was episode 13, Craig DeLuey. I'm so sorry. And I've heard a lot of good things about this. It's set sort of like a found footage film about some people doing from Rising Star of Horror, Craig DeLuey. Episode 13 brings a terrifying twist to the found footage genre when a reality TV show's crew finds themselves trapped in a nightmare of their own creation. Fade to Black is the newest hit ghost hunting reality TV show. Blah, blah, blah. Episode 13 takes me to every ghost hunter's holy grail, the Paranormal Research Foundation. This crumbling, derelict mansion holds secrets and clues about bizarre experiments that took place there in the 1970s. It's also undoubtedly haunted, and Matt hopes to use scientific techniques and high-tech gear to prove it, but as the house begins to slowly reveal itself to the crew, proof of an afterlife might not be everything Matt dreamed of, the main character. I thought this was about found footage in terms of someone found the TV crew, but it's a horror that I've heard a lot about, and I've been wanting to read it as well. And so, hey, on sale, or let me get Slate House on sale, might as well, you know? And then close nearby to the Barnes & Noble is also a comic book shop that I used to go to a lot that sold things for Dungeons & Dragons and also a lot of books. And I have membership there, and I had 8 points. And I was like, I'll let those be. But then I got 20% off this coupon for my birthday there because of a membership. And so I was like, you know what? Let me go buy something, use that 20%, and you get the extra 2, badges to get to the 10 badges. And with the 10 points, I can get $10 off of a book. So I got 3 books there. The 2 books that I got using the 20% off for my birthday were The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I really, really want to watch the show on Netflix. I don't have a Netflix, but I might get it to watch this and a bunch of other shows that I have yet to watch on Netflix. But I want to read it first before I watch the show to be able to like, hey, is this accurate or not? And this obviously is a cover from TV. But I've heard a lot of good things about Shirley Jackson. This would be my first Shirley Jackson that I read ever. And so I'm really excited for that. And the other 20% book was Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. I do know that this is also a TV show, but I'm not having much interest in that. I watched a video that someone was talking about their critiques about the show, but this is a very seminal sci-fi and also historical fiction work. And it's about a young woman who, or is she young? Middle-aged woman who is teleported from the present to the past. She is Black, her husband is white, and she has to deal with stuff in the past because of her race. And I heard the show does not do a really good job adapting this, but I know that the book is really good, and so I've been wanting to read it, and so I was like, might as well get it with that 20%. And with that, I had finally the 10 points that I needed to get $10 off of any purchase, and so I got We Always Live in the Castle, Shirley Jackson. So yeah, I got 2 Shirley Jackson stories. I thought that this book was a anthology of different short stories of Shirley Jackson, but it's just the one story of Shirley Jackson, which I was also interested in reading. I wanted to read Shirley Jackson. I never have read Shirley Jackson. And so it's also, these 3 are just seminal stories in their genres that being Shirley Jackson for horror and Kindred Octavia E. Butler for science fiction. And so, yeah, that is everything that I got for my birthday and what I read recently as well. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this very impromptu video on my part. I might be releasing this either the 1st or 2nd of November, so I'm late to Halloween, but that's fine. Thank you so much for watching. If you have read any of these books or have heard of any of these books, let me know what you think. If you liked any of these 2 books before, let me know what your thoughts were on them. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with your friends. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to be passionate, and I'll see you later.